Hello there everyone, welcome back to another video about a children's trading card game, and we've got some more Gate Ruler cards to talk about from set 4. We also got a little bit of news that is absolutely shockingly terrible, so let's just get that out of the way. The English release is delayed till May. We are not getting set 4 till May 13th. That is... I'm pissed. I can understand a minor delay, but the fact is, there was no hint. They could have said, hey, just FYI guys, production issues means the English version is going to be a bit delayed. They just slapped us with a 6-week, later thing. It's just really frustrating because, we waited so long for set 3 in Japanese, and now we're waiting, a really long time for set 4. We're waiting, I think, so it's 5.5 months or something. It's going to be, until the English, between the English sets, which is crazy. So, I hope this is sorted out for set 5, we don't have any kind of delay for that, and we get that on schedule, near the end of July. But yeah, so that's that little bit of news. But with that, annoying bit of news out of the way, I'm still really excited for the set. It's just very, disappointing to see that bit of news. Let's go ahead and get into the cards. And there's a very mixed bag. We're finally getting some of the less exciting cards in the set. So here we have Ego Shield. This is a level 1 Psychic Atlas event. It has a counter to set it, and you can set it, and you can use it when you're about to be dealt damage, and you reduce the next damage by 2. So this is Flying Shield with counter... Sorry, this is not Flying Shield. This is Space Cave with a way worse counter that is a level 1. It's terrible. This is possibly the worst card in the game. Maybe being hyperbolic. I definitely think this is the worst card in the set so far, and I doubt anything will release that sort of takes that position. I just don't know what decks would play this. I can see, hypothetically, a Highlander deck that has the level limit to spare that just really needs something like this. I just don't understand. I really don't know what deck's playing this. I don't think they exist at all, to be perfectly honest with you. I think this card is terrible. Next, we've got Fist of Roaring Dragons. This is still also not a fantastic card, but actually potentially has some utility. This is a level 0 Volmart event. The artwork on it is very nice. And this is a level 0 Fighting Spirit, Martial Skill, Fire, and Magic. So, potentially relevant traits there. Fire is appearing on a lot of things, and we've seen that Earth is a deck. So this is always something to keep in mind with that. Magic, I believe, is relevant for the Genesis Summoner. The Genesis Summoning Yamajin dude, whose name I forgot, the Gate Ruler guy. And then it's a Martial Skill. So obviously there's a whole deck built around Martial Skill, so that's our immediate thing that we're going, okay, alright, sure. And this will just pop a level 0 or less as a standard action. Now, this card is not amazing. There's not, a level 0 or less is, a minority of the card pool, and it's also, the easiest part of the card pool to deal with. So, immediately something like this is potentially going to be less, exciting. But it really is going to be format dependent, right? And if this was an instant action, I would be a hell of a lot more, hype on this card. It's going to depend, basically, on how many annoying level 0s there are in the format. And Martial Skill, is going to have the advantage of just being able to play this at 1 and just bring it out whenever it's necessary, whenever it needs to use it, which is obviously very, very nice. And it can also targetedly mill it out the deck so you're not drawing it. So I definitely think, Martial Skill is going to play this at 1 to 2, kind of no matter what. It is hard removal at the end of the day, even if it is very restricted. But I think as a generic card, it's pretty terrible, and you're probably not going to see it being played. But at least it does seem to have some utility in Martial Skill. Next, we have got part of the Dangerous Squad, and this is Mushroom Bamboos. This is a level 2, 4, 5, 1, so nice stats there. It's a Crime Lord and an Earth, so that's obviously relevant there. So, instant action, DR3, ally Crime Lords ignore effect damage until the end of the turn. So, this is within Lucifer range, but here, as you can see, you can just DR3 in response to the Lucy effect, and, you're golden. So, that's obviously really, really good. Another thing to keep in mind is... this can be used if you decide to play blue-pink Crime Lords, which is a very popular way to play Crime Lords. You can use this on your own turn, on your opponent's turn, in response to your own Lucifer. So this lets you really abuse that interaction, which is obviously very, very exciting. So I definitely think that's a really powerful effect. Then, when it leaves the field because of a card or effect's cost, it has to be for the cost. So this is very clearly designed for the synergy with the squad leader. Choose one or more enemy units and divide 5 damage among them. So this is actually incredibly powerful. So this card is going to let you basically as the Criminals deck, obviously it's locked Criminals, but you can now ignore effect damage sort of whenever you please, which is obviously very, very powerful. And then, when you sack this off for any of your costs, typically this is going to be the sacking it to burn 1 damage, you also get like basically a zap, 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 just a little bit worse. I think this is a really, really strong card, and I think it's definitely going to be something you want to consider playing. Again, it is a level 2 though, and that is always going to be a difficulty. In how easy it is to make use of cards like this when they are level 2. It's like the only thing you can play a lot of the time, unless you're in Overlord. So I definitely do think that Overlord is a way that it could be very viable to play this new style of Criminals, but we will have to test and find out. But definitely a very strong card. Then we've got Insect Marauder. So this is a level 1 Volnar Earth Beast, a 1/4/1, nice defense there, and Afforestation, standard action, DR2 Earth. Put a card named the Bloody Forest from your graveyard into your field zone. So this is a pretty solid card. You're probably going to be playing 4 copies of this. It's not amazing, right? Like, I wish this said from your deck or graveyard, because then I'd be like, this is really good. The problem is, like, you have to... So the first time you counter-check the Bloody Forest, it's going to put itself in the field zone. Every single time after that, it's not playing itself, it's only popping a level 0 and then going to drop. So obviously this is then going to sort of mitigate that, right? Where you then get to, once it's been counter-checked, put it into your drop, put it into play. But I mean, I really do think that this should have also been able to search from deck to really start kicking beasts up into high gear and making them really, really scary. But that being said, you now do have this option in a hand-based deck. You might play this at maybe 2 copies, 2-3 copies. I know some people are saying you play this at 4. I don't know. Like, it's not got particularly strong stats. It is a level 1, and you need to specifically have seen counters like that have been played in order for this to be useful. Now, of course, your opponent could wipe all your fields, in which case this becomes a lot better, so it is going to be format dependent, but I definitely do think this is something you want to be playing in that beast deck to really start going like sicko mode with your stats, like, because when everything is getting like +3/+3, that's scary. Next, we've got Request for Adventure, and this card is ridiculous. So, this is a level 0 Volnar Magic Historic. The counter is choose up to 2 unit cards in your graveyard and put them on the bottom of your deck in any order. Notice this lets you put counters back. So as a Genesis summoning thing, right, if you are putting back your units with counter, and when you Genesis summon, you are shuffling your deck, that is insane. So obviously this is like a little restrictive, and the counter isn't immediately cracked, but like if you get it and then you are able to shuffle your deck, it's very, very good. Then we actually look at the effect of the card itself. And if you have, so you need to have an ally unit with Genesis summoning in order to play this card. And you DR2, special summon 1 unit of level 2 or lower from your deck, but it loses all abilities, it cannot attack, and put it on the bottom of your deck at the end of the main phase. But you don't care because you have a Genesis summoner, right? So this card single-handedly goes, okay, so if I counter-check this, I'm going to put back either my big things that I want to be Genesis summoning into, or I'm going to be putting get units with counter, or ideally both at the same time. And on top of that, when I draw this card, I can then instantly, with any Genesis Summoner, have an immediate way to Genesis Summon into anything. That is crazy. Also, I'm not 100% sure if there is ever going to be any kind of like really spicy synergies with the fact that you bring a level 2 unit out with this. Like maybe there'll be some cards in the future that like give you specific bonuses depending on the level you like Genesis Summon with, I don't know. Right now, it's unlikely to matter. But the fact that this is like you can tutor out some like massive big HP thing, so like you're not worried about your Genesis Summoning getting like killed. Like it's just a nice little bit of versatility. I just think this card is really, really strong. And like yeah, it's a staple in Genesis Summon decks. It's probably a 4 of. Like counter space is really tight, but I mean the counter's really good. And it's going to make Genesis Summon decks just even harder to kill. So yeah, I'm a massive fan of this card. Next, we've got Melror, the Sealed Dungeon Master. So this is a level 2/0/10, so obviously dogshit stats, and you know on a level 2 as well, Dungeon Demon Lord. And it cannot be put in the defensive zone. It ignores combat damage, so you can only kill it by effect damage. Which, to be fair, there is enough running around, so fine. Standard action, exhaust this. Until the end of the turn, your ruler's attack becomes 5 and it gains breakthrough. So that's kind of crazy. And then when you play an event card, you reduce its cost by 1 and it kind of becomes 0. So you make all your level 2 events cost 1 and all your level 3 events cost 2. And of course you can have multiple of these. So, you know, if you have 2 of these on the board, you can make all your level 3 events cost 1, which could be spicy. It would be nice if this made things 0, but I get why it would be pretty broken. And then you just tap this and your ruler is suddenly 5 attack, breakthrough 3, or if you're wizard, breakthrough 2. Do not sleep on making your ruler 5 attack. Like, that's really, really good. Breakthrough is also an incredibly underrated ability. So, like, overall, I just think this card is really, really strong. It's a level 2. That's the biggest downside, right? Like, you have to play this level 2. But, hey man, like, if your opponent doesn't have the immediate removal for it, like, it's getting you, like, really solid value. Like, I will pay 2 to, like, deal 3 burn damage, basically, like, any day of the week. Next, we've got Zarsield of the Hellish Flame Swords. This is our first vanilla of the set. It's a 6/2/2, so that stat line is pretty stacked, and it's a warrior, fire, and a darkness, so we've got really, really good attributes as well. I don't know what decks are necessarily going to want to play this, unless it just ends up being that like 6 HP is the new thing to hit, in which case you just tech 4 of this in, and you know you always have like your out. I mean, again, stats are good. We are moving away from stats being like incredibly valuable. You know, in set 1 this would have been absolutely broken. Now it's just decent, and I don't know that decks are necessarily going to want to play this, but I definitely do think it's very possible that decks will want to. And again, like, it's got a very nice stat line. Next, we've got Cheers, and this is a card that will completely javated me on first reading. So this is a level 1 Atlas Fighting Spirit water event. Okay. Standard action. Declare 1 attribute and choose one of the following. If you have 5 or more unit cards in your graveyard, and all of them have the declared attribute, draw 2. If you have 2 or more cards with the declared attribute in your damage zone, flip up the 4 cards in your damage zone face up. So, I will say the second ability is realistically the one that's going to be more generically applicable, and depending on how constrained your DR is and how many things you need to do, this might be worth playing. The first ability is obviously, in decks that can use it, absolutely nuts. And sadly, that is actually really restrictive. I, on first reading, just thought you needed to have 5 or more with the attribute. No. You need to have everything that's a unit in your drop zone have that attribute. So, with that in mind, when you are able to, the decks you're going to be able to fulfill this in are realistically going to be things like dragons, which, you know, is obviously a W because dragons need this sort of support. Though, to be fair, then you're playing blue and dragons, so but like realistically, darkness. That's going to be the big one. I think darkness. To mind, there isn't a single main deck monster you will be playing come set 4 that isn't a darkness. But even if there is, you have Fell Dragon Temple, which will immediately bring this online. So, you know, there's that. But like realistically, it's going to be darkness as the standard deck. And then it's going to be Vanquisher, and it's going to be Vanquisher. Every Vanquisher deck that is that chooses blue as its event lineup is going to be playing 4 copies of this because they're always going to have the criteria fulfilled. And I think blue is now like it's just creeping up as the sort of auto pick, right? With cards like Dimension, Laminate, Embrace of Eons, such incredibly powerful events, and now Cheers a draw 2 for those decks. It is becoming very difficult to want to choose anything else. We will see how that meta sort of develops, but yeah, I think this is a very good card in its niche. I wish that niche was a bit bigger, but it is what it is. Next, we've got Guardian Deities, and this is another really good card. So this is a level 1 field incantation historic, and the counter will put this in the field zone. You put this into your graveyard, and you use one of the following 4 abilities, a lot of them. So, the first 2 are a standard action. You choose 1 card named DAI-JINKI, the 3 Regalians combined, in your graveyard or your damage zone, and you put it on the bottom of the deck. So this is going to let you, realistically, DAI-JINKI is a 1 to 2 of. So this is going to let you put it back if you've seen it in the damage zone, or if you drew it, or rather drove it, and so you're not worried about that. Okay, that's good. Or you can DR4 and special summon 1 unit of level 2 or lower from your deck that has Masurao or Regalian in its name, and use the OD ability of the unit special summon with this effect. So that's obviously very good. DR4 is hefty, but you know there are ways to un-DR, and depending on how DR heavy like that whole deck is going to be, and you know with DAI-JINKI it really isn't, then that's really going to be good. DAI-JINKI in particular, this is very strong because you're either going to be able to check the top 4 or you're going to be able to revive something from your drop zone. So that can potentially instantly, when you use this, make you fulfill your criteria to make your DAI-JINKI. So that's really good. On top of that, you also have your instant action. Your robotic cards ignore effect damage until the end of the turn. And finally, you have this passive ability, which is like it kind of instant action. Like you do still have to sack it to use this. When an ally robotic unit of level 2 or higher enters play, you DR2 to heal 1 life. So you have a lot of versatility from this one card, right? Like if your opponent does some sort of effect damage that you don't want to be dealing with, you can then use this for that, which is a very generic robotic ability and is going to make it C-play and robotic for that alone. Or an ally robotic of level 2 or higher enters play, you just need to heal something, okay, cool, you can just do that. But then, specifically to DAI-JINKI, and Zarsield, but like really DAI-JINKI, you get all these extra abilities that are really, really powerful. So I just think this is like going to be a staple, at least 2 of, in generic robotics. And I definitely think as a 4 of, it's very possible in DAI-JINKI. We are going to have to see how that, I wish this was a level 0. My one complaint is I wish this was a level 0, because obviously it's a level based deck. So obviously, having to play this does kind of feel bad, but we will see, again, exactly where this goes. I am very excited to build DAI-JINKI now, though. This looks really fun. This is a nice tool that the deck definitely needed, combined with some of the other support the deck got. And Robotic Apprentice is actually shockingly good already now. I think there's going to be some really, really fun stuff coming. Finally, we have Zamzazam. This is a X-Vader, level 1, Death Shade, Earth, Betrayer, Beast. Death Shade is the localized name for Death Shadow, just FYI. And it is a 4/4/1. When your opponent's unit enters play during your turn, you may destroy this. If you do, destroy that unit. This card's kind of bad. This card, like, hard counters Alice. Not really, because most of the stuff you're bringing in on your, as an Alice turn, like, you might just be doing to, like, give the HP buff or, like, do something, right? So, like, rarely, like, and also, like, you're going to see this on the board, so, like, you're rarely going to play into this. But then, like, this is meant to counter Lucifer, but the way that Lucifer works is... So you have this on your board, right? Your opponent calls Lucifer. Lucifer ability goes on this... it's turn player priority, so this will trigger, and then Lucifer will trigger. And then Lucifer will resolve, putting 5 damage on the gate. So the gate will then reset to that 5 damage. The 5 damage is dealt to everything. This dies, and it's unable to pay the cost for its ability to remove the Lucifer. So, like, Ikeda, can you just understand your own fucking, like, rules before you print cards like this, which are so clearly designed with... We know what you're thinking in your brain, right? We know the idea of this card is to just kill the Lucifer, right, when it enters the field. Like, we understand that, but this is not how you would do that, and you really need to just get your shit together and understand your own rules before you design card effects in card text. So hopefully this is fixed before the printing of the set. Don't know if that is even possible, but yeah. That's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. What do you think? What decks are you excited for? Personally, the card that I was most impressed with was the Request for Adventure. I think that Genesis Summoning is getting a lot of really powerful tools, and of course, Regan Leaf is just a Genesis Summon deck, so it's kind of just generically slotting in there. So I'm very excited to see where this goes, but let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Join my Discord server, like the video, subscribe to the channel, usual the shilling and stuff, and I will see you guys in the next video. Cheers.